Welcome to the Tommy Young Show. This is the second episode for Quest Flesner. In this episode, he talks about the loss of a family member and the struggles that him and his wife had to go through, both together and individually. It's heartbreaking, and his prayer and his thoughts are that it encourages somebody else, because no one, when they get married, knows how to cope with something like this. And his prayer and his thought is that it encourages and helps others through this that have gone through it or will go through it. After discussing it with Quest, him and his wife both agreed willingly to be on the show for a third episode that has not been recorded yet. And in that third episode, they're going to be talking more in depth of the emotional struggles and the marital struggles and challenges that they had in this loss. Stay tuned, and welcome to the Tommy Young Show. Another episode is coming up. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Tommy Young Show.
And we were on a computer trying to plan out a vacation, and we were in the other room, and like we do 100 times, we turn on her favorite TV show, and she sits in her chair and she watches TV, and my wife was going back and forth to the kitchen, and she sits down in a lower spot in the living room where the couch wraps around, and she normally sits there and pretty content. And we were in the other room, and 10, 15 minutes went by, and my wife went to the restroom. I went out to the living room, got something, and never even looked over there, and come back to the room. And within 2 or 3 minutes, I said, why don't you check on her? Because I figured that episode of, I think it was Blue's Clues, I'm sure it's getting over, you might want to go check on her. And then immediately we couldn't find her. And somehow the door had went shut where it didn't leave us. If I remember correctly, it didn't leave us a sign that she had went outside. So we were searching the house, and then we went outside, and I went to the backyard. She went to the front, and we were searching around the house, and then we noticed our dog was over at the lake, and then my wife got there first and ran over there and found her in the water, and she had drowned. My wife pulled her from the water, and then I gathered her from my wife and took her to the edge of the road. Told my wife to call 911, and then I performed CPR on her for, I'm guessing, what seemed like a year, but it was probably 20 minutes, and waited for the paramedics to get there. They got there, and then Hannibal Hospital is a great hospital. I think they got her a heartbeat there, if I remember correctly, and then they flew her to Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, which is another incredible hospital. They got down there and got a heartbeat and got her heart going again, but she was pronounced brain dead. And then the following day, we had a decision to make on that. But she had a strong heart, just everything else, it was too late. At that age, they can't go very long without oxygen, so we were heartbroken. That was a very difficult time for my wife and I, and it was a struggle. It is a big test to your religion, and it is a big test to your marriage. Since our daughter's accident, since it's a child involved, and it was a water accident, we had Missouri Highway Patrol come out with their, I believe, Marine Division, come out and interviewed us later on. And then since there was a child involved, DCFS had to come out and rule it as an accident, which they did. But our DCFS agent that come out there that day was very understanding and said that this thing happened. You live this close to water, and these things happen. And she said, I will tell you now that the divorce rate is extremely high for couples that lose a child. It's like unbelievably high. So she said, you really need to be there for one another. So that is a very big struggle, to lose a child. I don't think anybody realizes what anybody's worth until they're not there. Mm-hmm. So
How do you get through that? I mean, I didn't know the divorce rate. I mean, that would have been the farthest thing from my mind, but that's a part of it, as well as going through the loss of the child. and I've never lost anybody. What?
It's
I'm
just
lost at words. I mean,
I don't know how to describe it to you. I don't know. It's just difficult, and you'll probably be in. I mean, you're in shock too. I mean, when that all happens, you're in shock, and then I don't think everything really settles in that until the day of the funeral, when they tell you before they shut the casket that it's going to be the last time you see your child. I mean, that's when it really sinks in that this is happening, and I don't know. It's just I don't know how to put it in words. It's and it's different for everybody. So if you're a husband and wife, or you're female or you're male, it will be different for everybody. So I would encourage anybody that loses a child that's married to try to see it from their spouse's point of view, because it's very difficult. My wife grieved completely differently than I did, so I would encourage people to just be patient and not make any decisions. It's a very difficult thing. Unfortunately, she passed away that day, and then we're in St. Louis, so we had to make arrangements. My wife's birthday is on the 6th, so the day that this was happening, we had a surprise birthday party for my wife turning 30. So her birthday was that day, or within 24 hours. Our anniversary is the 9th, and then my birthday's the 11th. So I didn't want to bury my daughter on my wife's and I's anniversary, so we buried her on my 30th birthday, September 11th, and it was very very difficult, I would say.
it's tough. I mean, we heard about it. We saw it on Facebook. We saw it on social media, and for somebody looking in that hasn't been through it, Quest, we don't know the words to say. I mean, we can pray for you. We can encourage you, but we don't even know the words to encourage. I mean, from an outstander, person looking in from the outside, I can't imagine. I mean, I've got 3 girls. I can't imagine. I can't. Has it time got better? As it got better with time? Is it what can people looking in? I mean, there's 2 sides of this, right? There's the side of the people that down the road will lose somebody, and encouragement for them, as well as for the other ones. What do we do? I mean, I can't imagine.
I don't. Everybody's different, and every situation's different. Obviously, if you lost a 16 or 17-year-old young person, I've got a good friend that I'm on the cattleman board, Missouri Independent Cattleman Board with. He's the president, and he just lost his son, I do believe that was at 18 years of age, to a car accident. And I had another board member call me and say, hey, maybe you should call him and kind of talk to him. And I said I wouldn't want nobody telling me how to do things or telling me what it's going to be like a week or 2 after. I said he needs to settle in, I guess. I mean, I didn't feel like that was the proper place for me to call at that time, because that's different. You had, I'm not saying one's worse or less worse or better, but I'd killed anyway to have my daughter for 18 years, to have her because I had so much expectations, and just to have had the pleasure to be with her for 18 years versus 18 months, I'd do anything. I mean, I'd cut my right arm off to have her back for just 18 years. So somebody that loses somebody at 16, 17, 18, 10, 11, it could have been, I hate to say it could have been worse, but you got time with them, and that is, I just hope people cherish it. I mean, now that I've lost my daughter, I see things completely different. My daughter was just getting to be fun. I mean, she was talking and had a personality and could run like just flat get it and run. I mean, it was so fun, and her personality and the way she would talk, it was just getting to be really fun. I don't know. It was, I wouldn't say it gets easier. I would think of it as a callus. You're not trying to sweep it under the rug, but I would encourage people that lose a loved one not to let one bad event turn into 2 or 3. And that was my determining deal, is I didn't want to be divorced because I love my wife, and I think there's not a better person out there for me. So I thought, I don't want this to turn into a divorce or ruin my life any worse than it already has. I mean, it was the worst thing that could happen to me. But I didn't want it to determine the rest of my life or change the outcome of the rest of my life. And I don't know. I don't know. My faith definitely was tested there for months, very much tested. So.
Yeah, just I don't know. I don't know. You're an inspiration, right, and an encouragement to others. I grew up in a small town. Seniors were killed in a sledding accident, and I know the parents. I mean, I grew up with them, but it's hard to put into words. It's just tough.
I don't think there's words for it.
And that's my whole point. You don't know what to say. I mean, we can pray for them. We can send them messages saying we're praying, we're thinking about them. But from anybody's standpoint looking in, we're inadequate to cope with it for the most part. And
yeah, it is I tell people it doesn't upset me. But I would have people tell me months down the road, hey, I know what you're going through. I lost my dad. And I said, I'm trying to be a good person. I wanted to say you have no clue what I'm going through. Because I know there comes to a point in your age when you're in your 20s, and for me it was, everybody's different. You realize that at some point you're going to have to bury your parents. That's the way the kind of the world works. Unfortunately, I buried both my grandparents, my grandpas. I buried both my grandpas, one of which I was really close with in the cattle deal. The other one was an incredibly smart man and a good man. Both, I buried them and my daughter all within like a year. And I tell you what, I know that at some point I'm going to have to, hopefully not, but I'll have to bury my parents. And when somebody says, well, I know what you're going through, I had to bury my parents. Everybody grieves differently on every situation, but nobody should have to bury their child, in my opinion. And that's where my religion was tested, because I thought, who in the world would allow something so innocent that hasn't committed a sin yet and is just perfect, pure, and beautiful? Who would let something like, who would let somebody like that die? And I thought, I thought the good Lord, I thought, what kind of sick or cruel joke this was to let an innocent person like that die that hasn't done anything wrong. And then I don't have my phone on me, but I'm trying to think what Bible verse it was. It basically, older gentleman I did an estate sale for, he lost his son at, I want to say he lost him at 14, 16 years of age, something like that. It was right there in the teenage years, and he had a brain aneurysm in bed and died. And he told me, he gave me a Bible verse, and essentially it said that the good Lord knows an angel when he sees one, and he wanted that person, he had better plans for that person, and the world is going in a direction he wasn't happy with, and he wanted that person to come home. It helped me. It is still a difficult pill to swallow. I would not say I grieved instantly. I grieved really hard when they closed the casket and they said this will be the last time you see her. I grieved really hard that day. And probably the following day, and you're not getting any sleep and your mind's racing what if and what you should have done different. And that won't do anything but just ruin your mind. So it's best you don't think like that, because that isn't going to change anything, and all it's going to do is eat your mind away. So, but mine, I would say, was a month or two later. I started to realize that we weren't a family anymore. We were just my wife and I. So I don't know. And I still go down the road. 30 days ago, I go down the road and it's raining, and I think about water, and I don't like water anyway. And I'll cry going down the road. And so, I don't know. It's just everybody's different. My wife grieved immediately the whole time, and for 6 months after, she was a train wreck, and I didn't know how to handle that. I mean, I had to learn, but you know, I don't know. Everybody's situation is going to be different, but the key thing I would like people to realize is don't let one bad event ruin the rest of your life. It may seem like the end of the world right now that you lose a loved one, and it's really hard, especially for a child, to lose a child. But the Lord had a plan for them, and you know that if they're not here, they're in a better place. So that's the way you have to see it if you don't want your mind to just ruin you, because your mind will drift in a million different ways. What if, what you should have done, what you could have done different, and you just need to let yourself remember that they're in a better place and the good Lord had a plan for them, especially a young person. I can't tell anybody how to grieve that loses a parent at 40 or 50 years of age, because I haven't been there and I'm not going to, but they're in a better place, and that's how you need to, in my opinion, that's where you need to see it. Everybody's got a number, and when your number gets pulled, it doesn't matter what you think you should have done different that day. It's just the way it is. In my opinion, that's my opinion.
Sure.
And, you see it how you want to see it, but that's how I see it and how it helped me get through.
So that brings up a good point. A lot of people say that if we have this God that loves us, why is this happen or why does that happen? And you talked about that. That was one of the struggles that you went through. I mean, and yet you're here today, you're talking about it, encouraging others, and somehow, some way you got through it.
It's a hard pill to swallow, and you'll swallow it most days, because nothing's more difficult than seeing a nice young couple with a little girl that looks like my daughter. It is extremely difficult, and we named our daughter a special name, that Hazel, and I thought that was special, and I thought with a name like that, she'll go far, and with the values that we could embed into her and make her a good person, I was really hopeful. And but like I said, I knew at my age especially there was more to life than a tragedy, and I didn't want to tie into anything that would make the situation worse. So some people probably thought I was crazy, but I did the complete opposite of some people. I stayed away from alcohol. I didn't want anything to do with alcohol. No antidepressants. I did not want anything to do with that. My Lord, you see the side effects of half them things on the TV. Yeah. It says if you feel suicidal, I'm like, then who in the saying heck would take this stuff? It's unbelievable. I mean, it's almost like they're trying not to sell it. It's like, oh, this person in this video looks great. I mean, they're happy, and they look at them. It's sunny out, and then they start listing the side effects that your dog may pass away, and it may be a cloudy day, and you might not get your mail for 3 weeks. And I'm like, maybe I don't want to take this, but I chose to stay away from pills. Anything a doctor described to me, I would try to stay away from. I thought I can do this on my own. I thought there's people before me that have been through tough times. I mean, in my opinion, so I stayed away from alcohol and any pills. And unfortunately, at Prairie Farms, it's a good company, but every plant could be different depending on your union. But unfortunately, at Quincy, as Prairie Farms, they give you 3 paid days off for a child. That being said, I still had bills coming in, so I took my 3 days, and then my boss, both bosses that I had at the time, Dave Goings and Brian Yock, very understanding people, young, right around 40 years of age. I told them, I said, I need more time off. And they said, you take whatever you want. But the problem was it wasn't paid. So this is a way of putting it. I would tell people it's a cruel world and life ain't fair. And when I say that and other people say that, I don't think you fully understand it until in your mind the world just stopped. You just buried your only child. And yet things have to move on. You still have your bills still come in on the 10th of the month for your electric or whatever it may be, or your water, and they don't care if you lost your child. That's the cruel part of the world, and where I tell people that life ain't fair, that's the cruel part, because they still come in, your bills still come in, and I was forced to, I had to stay working. So, and I honestly think, I think that was for the best. And I hate to say that because I wasn't at home with my wife as she grieved as much, but she stayed with loved ones for a while. I don't know that. I'm not saying that that was the best thing for me, I thought, or for her, but it helped our relationship, I think, because I got moving quicker and got things going. You know, and money's not everything. I'm sure people listening will say, well, money isn't everything. You're right. But if I don't got a roof over my head, I'm going to be moving in with my parents at 30 years of age. And like I said earlier, don't let one bad thing turn into two bad things, or one tragedy ruin your life. So I think that getting me going and staying working and staying around other people kind of helped the grieving, I think, for me. Now, it may not for a woman. I would not say that, or some men, I don't know. But for me, it kept me moving instead of staying in a house cooped up and thinking and letting my mind race a million miles away. Our therapist, and I'm not saying all therapists, but that counseling that we took, I thought was the biggest waste of money. And that's just my opinion. And some people may tell me that I'm wrong. Maybe we had the wrong counselor. Maybe that's what it come down to. But her encouraging my wife or I to stay in the house and just spend time together and watch TV, or just stay close to one another, I'm not saying that's the wrong thing, because we both needed each other. Sure. I mean, we had to be there for each other. I'm not saying
that's all you had.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You know, but sitting inside a house, letting your mind think, "What if?" That's when your mind starts to eat itself. And that's where me staying busy, 2 weeks after, that's where I think it helped me get to where I'm at now, sitting here talking with you. That's what I think, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm sure people listening will say you should have been there for your wife. She grieved in her own way for a while, and I wasn't there to tell her you're grieving the wrong way. I wasn't going to say, well, let's get out and do something. You don't want to force somebody to do something right afterwards they don't want to do. I let her do what she wanted to do, and I was trying to pick up the pieces and trying to get things going. And again, there's no right or wrong in this. The only wrong would be as if you tie into alcohol and pills. That's, in my opinion, that's the devil working. That's him trying to make one situation into a lot bigger, worse of a situation. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people will be listening, telling me I'm wrong, and that's fine.
That's all right. They don't have your number or email, so you're good. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you can get that anyway. Yeah.
But I think what I'm impressed about, too, is you weren't expecting your wife to grieve the same way you do. It's like love languages, right? You got your love language, I got my love language, your spouse's, and if you don't, et cetera. But I'm impressed. I mean, you guys did a fabulous job with it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure without issues or struggles et cetera. But I appreciate the respect you have for your spouse to say, this is how you grieve, and it's okay if you grieve this way, and I'm going to grieve this way. And you agree to disagree on how you grieve, but you're both doing it.
Yeah, and you just patted me on the back, and I'm going to tell you to take it back, because at the time, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that for the first 6 months, 7 months. I told her, I said, why are you sitting in a house, and why are you going to this therapist or these counseling sessions, asking you how you feel? Why don't you, and then I'd come home and I wouldn't ask those questions, or, I wouldn't ask her how she felt. But looking back on it, once we got 6 months in, that's when I realized, I'm like, I'm not going to change how she feels about this situation. But yeah, the first 6 months, I would say I was not, because nobody knows. I mean, I feel bad now looking back at it. I feel like I was not a good husband, but I didn't know. Nobody hands you a book and says, this is the book on how to grieve with being married. because I could have been, if I was married to a different person, it could have been completely different. But at the time, I'm not a very understanding, and I'm an impatient, impulsive person. So I expected her to grieve like I did. I'm like, well, we got to get out and get doing things. Well, she didn't want to. And I said, this is ridiculous. And, do I regret pushing her a little bit? Yes. And then some no, because I think the good Lord brought us together for this situation, because I was there to maybe not be the trying to think how to word this. I wasn't there in the way she probably wanted me to be, but I think the Lord knew that, and I hope I'm right. I think the Lord knew that I was built that way, and I would push her to get. We got to get the ball rolling again and keep our life going. I think if I was different, where I was a sobby person and sat around, I think we might still be sitting in the house together. But yeah, I don't know. And now she's stronger than I am. Before when my daughter passed away, I felt like I was the strong one, trying to move on and trying to make things keep going and act like, not act, but try to let people know that I'm fine. And now it's complete opposite, I think. I will find myself driving to Windsor, Missouri every Wednesday for an auction down there that I do, and that is the longest drive, or sometimes driving west with a load of cattle. That my mind now is weaker now, where I think about things and I get emotional, whereas my wife has come to terms, and my daughter's birthday was there in February, and my wife was persistent on going and getting a balloon and cupcakes, and I can't remember if there was anything else, but we walked into County Market in Hannibal, and as soon as I walked in and she grabbed cupcakes, which I saw no meaning in, but that was her way of dealing with it. As soon as I grabbed the cupcakes before we grabbed the balloon first, and as soon as we got the balloon that said she would have been 3, I just lost it. I cried right in the middle of the store, and I bawled like a kid. And then I went over to the fresh produce and kind of stood in the corner, and I bawled while my wife got the cupcakes. And I looked at her and I said, I want to leave. I said, so that's what I did. And she never shed. I don't think she ever. I mean, she got teary eyed, but I bawled like a kid, just like a baby, right there in the middle of the store. And you have people looking at you, and I didn't give a crap.
Oh yeah,
and they can go somewhere else if they don't like it. But I just hope that I'm right when I say that everybody has a special someone, and if you have good faith, I think that the good Lord will match you with a good person, a good spouse, a good partner for life. I hope I'm right on that. The way I see it, everybody's different, and I know everybody. The divorce rate's very high right now, and I would say that the divorce rate comes down to some people just don't want to put work into their marriage. And looking back now at the amount of stress and fights and screaming and arguments that we had for the first year on how things should go, after this event, I can see why the divorce rate's so high for people that lose a child, because it is just, it's exhausting. You don't know what to do, and I don't know. But you best just be right with your faith, though, because if you're out to hate the whole world after you use a loved one, especially a child, if you just hate the whole world and think it's not fair, and that you're owed something, you're in for a rude awakening.
Wow. So how long has it been? 2 years?
My daughter passed away in this year. Her third birthday was February 19th of this year, and she passed away in 2021. And so we laid her to rest September 11th of 2021. So yeah, it's going on 2 years. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I know when we got the message that she had passed, I mean, it was just everybody was praying, and But nothing in life sets you up for it. When you go through marriage counseling, it doesn't matter what counselor you use. Nobody sets you up for something like this. I mean, it's just not there. And for you guys to come out not even having the equipment, being equipped going into it, it's rare, right? I mean, what percentage makes it marriage-wise?
I can't remember what she said. I want to say it was 70% was the divorce rate, 68 or 70%.
So they take something that's bad and add to it, and that's what you were saying, right? I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah.
So what's your encouragement to someone? I mean, yes, the families I know from the small community that just lost their two sons. I mean, two families, two sons. It's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. What's your encouragement?
One would be have good faith. Have good faith and understand that everybody has a number, and it don't matter how you think you are. We're born. Unfortunately, it's a hard pill to swallow, but we're born and brought into this world, and we have a time to go. Everybody's different. Not everybody lives to 72 or 80. I would tell them to have good faith, stay away from any substances such as alcohol, pills, and really cherish the family they have, or their spouse, their partner in life. You know, I don't know how to. I would tell them. That's what I would tell them, because I'm not going to be able to help or give words of encouragement to somebody that may have lost a 24-year-old son versus, you know, I would tell you from my experience as a child, that was the hard part, is it is a baby, somebody that has done nothing wrong, that was precious and pure. So I would really encourage people to be strong for their partner and be understanding, something I probably wasn't very good at, being understanding at times, but, you know, and if you lost your son at 18 years of age, I feel so bad for you, and I can't say I know what you're going through, because that's a different kind of grief. But if you have another child, I would encourage you to cherish what you have there. You know, make you understand, help you understand that, you know, you still have other children. You had 18 years with them, 17 years with them. And if they say, well, that's not enough, or some, I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm just saying I would have killed anything to have my daughter for 18 years, not 18 months. So if you have a loved one for 10 years or 15 or 18 or 20, I am so sorry, and I feel for you in such a way, because in my opinion, that should not happen. You should not bury your children. But if you had time with them like that, I envy you, because I wish I could have had my daughter for 18 years. I would have given anything. So appreciate the time that you did have with them, you know, and the memories. Unfortunately, we were talking about cell phones ruining this world. My phone has my videos of my daughter on it, and I told my wife the other day, I said, I want to save those to a thumb drive or something. I said, I never want to lose those, because it just, you know, that's what I have. So, you know, if you had them for 18 years, you would have 15 years, you would have had a lot of good times, a lot of good times. I envy that of somebody that had their child for that long. And I know that's a bad word to use, envy, in a situation like this, but that's the only way I can describe it and be honest with you. I am jealous of somebody that had their child for 20 years or 10 years. I don't know. I'm fortunate enough we lost my daughter on my 30th birthday. We laid her to rest, and now we have my son Corbett Quest Flesner, and now I realize how important he is. And I'm gone a lot because my wife stays at home and takes care of him, which is great. And I'm all for it, but I have to be gone a little bit more and work a little bit more, and that's fine. But when I get home, instead of plopping down on the couch or relaxing, you know, or you know, I think about things a little bit differently now. but that family that lost both their sons, yeah, I feel terrible for them. I feel really bad for them, but don't let this ruin your marriage or the rest of your life. When you asked me to come on here today, I was tickled pink because I thought if I could just help one person, maybe just one person, it would be beneficiary, because if you help that person and help that marriage, or something you say can help somebody else, maybe they go on and do the same thing I'm doing, and then they help somebody. I mean, that's how you have to see things. And again, this is all my opinion, so it can be different. I know there'll be people listening that'll tell you that's not the right way to grieve. But for me, I would tell you, someone has to keep moving. I would tell them to keep going. I don't know. It's not a hard subject. When you asked me about it, it's not a hard subject to talk about, but it's so hard to put it in words. Because I don't think there's a whole lot to say, especially being this fresh. There's just so much going on in your mind and your body. I lost weight when my daughter passed because I just didn't want to eat. I had no appetite. I mean, so I feel horrible for them, but I'm sure they're a strong enough couple that they can get through this. And I hope they are, through good faith and relying on one another to get through it together as a partnership, as a marriage. Your vows say it very clearly, sick or poor, and through struggles. So I hope they have a good church, a good minister, good people in the community. I was very fortunate that we had so many family members and such a great community. One of the beautiful things about living in the Midwest is there is not one spot, I think, in the United States that's better than the Midwest or the 10 states here in the middle, because if somebody is either injured or they have a benefit auction or a loved one is lost, people in this area are very loving, kind, and I think that comes back to the good religious beliefs and good morals we have here in the Midwest. But that really helped my wife and I as good family and good friends, following up with us and keeping us in their prayers, all the prayers, and whatnot. So that's my end of the deal. There is I was fortunate enough to have good friends, good family, the Suitors and whatnot, just great people. The Heimers, all the people in this area are just
absolutely
amazing.
Absolutely. And you just did a benefit auction, right? Or you did something for a family?
Oh, we do. I've got some. We'll have one here in 3 weeks. We'll have one, and then here last year I did one for. We're in 2023 already. We did one for the Adams County Folks Care. I didn't want anything like that. People poured out generous donations to my wife and I, and we were forever grateful for that. I will not forget the people that were generous to us. I had a gentleman I wrote a check to for $1,600 in hay about a month before 3 weeks before my daughter's passing. And not that I didn't think a lot of the gentleman, but he was just a gentleman that I'd helped through a summer put up hay and don't see him a lot, didn't think a lot about it. And then after my daughter passed, he stopped by my dad's shop, his business, and gave him a check back and goes, "I'm not going to cash that." And my dad goes, "We just cashed and you need to do it." And he goes, "I don't need that money." He said, and then people like that, your memory becomes a sponge when all the good things happen. When people do good things for you, I know people always say that you can do 100 good things and that one bad thing, that's what everybody will talk about. They're correct. You can you can work your butt off to build a reputation in 10 years and burn it in 10 minutes. But for me, my brain absorbed all the people that were there for me when I needed it most. I know Matt was there, but some of the members from Pike Feed showed up in my daughter's visitation. I'm going to do business with the people that were there the day and the week my life fell apart. And I will never forget those people. And that meant a lot to me. Somebody that took time out of their day And that's a dying thing too. People don't, young people don't realize the importance of going to a visitation to let somebody know, hey, you're in our thoughts and prayers. A text doesn't mean jack nothing.
No,
at
right.
that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I thought a lot of the people that I saw in that line that day, I won't forget those people. And those people and family are how we, and the good Lord, are how we got through our situation. So I hope the people that lost their two sons skiing have a good community around them, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do, and just hold on to that and the family and the church. You'll get through it. It seems bad now, and it's not an easy road. There'll be a lot of disagreements and fights and internal fighting with your head. I mean, your brain can be so toxic at times like this, but I have good faith they'll get through it. They'll get through it.
Well, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it, Quest.
Yep.
Thanks for your wisdom. Thanks for your fun.
Yeah. Ain't much wisdom.
Oh, there's a lot of wisdom in it. There's a lot of wisdom. You did great. But I got to ask one favor.
Yeah.
I've heard you auction online, but I've never seen you do it in person. So can you sell this hat?
Yeah. Yeah. We selling it by the pound or
How many pounds is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Most everything I sell is by the
7 3/8. Should we
Yeah.
go 7 3/8 pounds? Should we do that?
Yeah, yeah. We sell a hat like that. Yeah, we everything I do normally is by the pound, not everything. But I tell you what, I enjoy selling. I would encourage people to come out to a live auction. But yeah, I'm gonna sell that hat for you really quick.
Okay.
I'll sell it to you per price there, boys, by the head. Hand right there. I'm better get a better 45. I get a better get a better 50. Better get a better 55. Give 60. Go 5 here. Better get a better 65 and 70. I get a better get a better 75. Better get a better and now 80. I'm down here now 80 to bid, 80 to buy. Now 85. Better get a better 85. Look at here. Better get a better 85. All in, all done. Now $85. Sold the hat. $80 even.
Good grief. Talked to my son-in-law, and he said this guy is phenomenal. So you sound better, though. We do have a video we're going to show the listeners. Do you have a video by chance of helium? Does that change your voice? It does? Okay, it does.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to show that. So.
Yeah, no, that was fun. My wife handed me that, and I thought, that'd be a good way to auctioneer off chipmunks.
I got the video. I'm going to show it if that's all right.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's fine.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious. That and maybe the telemarketer one we'll put out there.
Yeah,
but,
no, that'd be great. Maybe it'd be inspirational to other telemarketers not to call it 7:30 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's 5 in the afternoon in India or Europe, but yeah.
And 2 hit a bit of 3, and 3 hit a bit of 4, get a bit of 4, hit a bit of 5, hit a bit of $6 and 7, give 7, bid 7 and 8, hit a bit of 8, give 9, bid 9, go 9, give 9, say 9, hit a bit of 8, hit a bit of 9, sold $8.
Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it, Quest. And,
Absolutely.
God's blessings.
Yeah.
As always. And, thankful you're in our community. Thanks for making a difference.
Yep. Thank you. Looks like your show is going to do well, and hopefully people follow it closely.